Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 11th through 17th. This week I read one book, I watched one movie, I watched 6 shows, and I listened to 2 books. My voice might be a little bit rough in this video because yesterday I went on like a 10-hour pub crawl. So yeah, just excuse that. Let's move on. The one book that I managed to finish this week is Gender Euphoria. This is a collection of essays on the topic of gender euphoria. There are a handful of essays that were put together by the editor of this collection, but then all the other essays are by other trans and non-binary people. This is such a delightful collection because it does touch on dysphoria occasionally, because it's easier to talk about something if you talk about the opposite of that something sometimes. But so often the media will focus on dysphoria instead of euphoria, and it's very nice to see these instances where people just felt very comfortable and happy in their gender, and that was just lovely. It was also just lovely to see different people in different parts of their own personal journeys and them being able to reflect on things that have gone really well for them, or just these small little moments that have brought them joy, and I definitely recommend this one. The one movie I watched this week was Hall Pass. This is a movie where 2 guys are given hall passes by their wives to have a week where they can just pretend that they're not married. The wives do this because they figure that the guys will just try to sleep with people and horribly fail, and then just see what they're missing at home. And yes, it is a lot of that. There is occasionally humor in this that was not my favorite type of humor, or the occasional very offensive joke, but for the most part, I laughed a bunch. Also, it's really weird to see Jason Sudeikis again in this type of film, which is something he's done a lot, because in my brain he is only Ted Lasso now. That is the only character of his that I really want to have in my brain at any time ever. So I had to actively think about, oh, it's that. Why is he being a douche? We know he can be the best human. As for the shows I watched, some of these this week I was just kind of in the room for and only sort of watching, including the first 4 episodes of Harley Quinn. I actually really enjoyed this. It was also very fun to see how many times you could spot a conversation where it was just Alan Tudyk talking to himself as different characters. And I'm not huge into the mythos or the fandom of these particular characters, but it is really fun because obviously I grew up watching like the old Batman movies and stuff like that, so it is fun to see these characters pop up and be like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember something about this character. Sure, let's see how this plays out. My roommate has also been watching Never Have I Ever, which is a show on Netflix about this girl named Davy and just her goings-on and her family. She's somewhere in the 3rd season, I think, so I've seen a random assortment of episodes from the 2nd and 3rd season, and I just kind of sit down once in a while she happens to be watching it, so I haven't been watching it episode to episode to episode, but every time I do sit down it is highly entertaining. I really enjoy the characters, and if there's anything that I'm like, wait, did I miss something here, she just catches me up, which is lovely. Essentially, it is about this girl who is living in a multi-generational house. Her father passed away, and from what I gathered, that was really painful for her, and there was some stuff in the 1st season that I definitely missed out on that whole situation, but it's referenced every once in a while, so I'm like, oh, she went through that. That's really unfortunate. I feel bad for her. But also occasionally her dad will show up in her dreams and she'll get to have conversations with him, and I just really enjoyed seeing that. Also, she has an older cousin and her grandmother's trying to find her a husband, and then several other things like she's not supposed to be able to date, but there's definitely people that she dates in the show. It's a good time. From what I've seen, I highly recommend it. I also watched the last 2 episodes of Daisy Jones and the Six. It wrapped up very nicely. I liked seeing Chad see the kind of twist thing that happens at the very end where you find out certain characters and how they are related to each other. And this definitely made me want to revisit the book eventually when I find time in my reading schedule to do so. We also watched the very first episode of The Stranger, which is also based on a book that I haven't read by an author whose books I have never actually read before, but I know he has a lot of them because I used to shelve them all the time at the library. Is it Harlan Coben? I think that's his name. In this very first episode, a few different things are introduced and you don't really know if they connect or how they connect, and I just started yelling out theories about it. It takes place in the UK, and for the most part we're following this one guy, and he's taking his son to a football thing, and he has to kind of play that day because it's a dads and lads type of situation. And during a break in play, this woman comes up to him and is like, hey, your wife faked her last pregnancy so that you wouldn't leave her, drops some evidence of this in his lap and just walks away. So of course he's trying to figure out what the heck is that. In addition, we're following a cop and she's trying to figure out who beheaded an animal and just left it in the middle of town, and if it has anything to do with a guy that she finds in the woods completely naked and passed out. Like I said, I've only watched the first episode, so I have no solutions to any of these problems, or I don't know where this is going, but I was intrigued. We also watched the first 3 episodes of the newest season of Black Mirror. If you've never seen Black Mirror before, every episode is self-contained, although sometimes they make references to other episodes and other things that have happened in the show, but you don't need to watch all of the episodes to understand these things. You can just pick up little Easter eggs every once in a while. For example, the second episode and the whole premise of it is actually mentioned in the first episode, and I found that really clever because as soon as I saw the title for the second episode, I was like, wait, they were just talking about this. Okay, I'm really into figuring out what went on here. And then the third episode is basically a double episode, and just the talent they got for these 3 episodes, it's just very good. It's a show with a pretty creepy vibe because there's always some technological component to it that just kind of throws you off and is slightly different than our world, and it's just kind of like a what if, and you go into these really strange circumstances, and I'm a fan. Additionally, when I went away to Europe, I no longer had access to the streaming service where I watched Drag Race because it's only available when you're in Canada. So I went back and continued on partway through the 15th season. So yes, I need to finish that, and then I will catch up on the All-Star season. All I know about the All-Star season is Jimbo, who is from where I'm from and who I've worked with in the past, is on this season, so I do need to eventually watch it. There was actually a photo that came up in my memories a little while ago of us in the green room of a show that we did together like 7 years ago, so that was fun to see pop up. As for this season though, season 15, we just surpassed the 200th episode. I think we're down to the final 5. I've got some favorites, there's some drama, it's all the whole thing. As for the books I listened to this week, the first one was Yellowface, and this one is just so intriguing and incredibly meta if you're in the bookish community, because there are so many things referenced that if you are deep into this community, you're like, ah yes, I see what you did there. Essentially, this one is told from the perspective of June. She is a white woman and she has this friend named Athena Liu. They both went to the same school, they're both writers, and although her debut book kind of flopped, she's seen Athena have this incredible success, and they're actually together because they're celebrating a Netflix deal. Through a series of unfortunate circumstances, Athena shows her this manuscript that nobody else knows about, and then June actually just straight up steals it, decides to rewrite parts because it is a very, very clunky first draft, and then pass it off as her own. And because we're in June's perspective, she can just talk you into the fact that, oh yeah, this was a completely fine thing to do because, like, sure, she wrote some things, but like, I actually made them better, and then this is actually it getting out into the world instead of not getting out into the world, and she just justifies all of her actions, even though her actions are pretty terrible, and if she'd gone about it a different way, it wouldn't look as bad or be as bad as it is. And then she's stuck for the entire book trying to make sure that nobody realizes that Athena actually wrote this book. This is full of microaggressions and just straight out aggressions, and I was really intrigued with this premise, and I was really intrigued with seeing... I'm not even stepping, why are you excited? I was just really intrigued to see how this was going to go and whether or not her conscience was going to catch up with her. The other audiobook I listened to this week was actually a reread for me, and that was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Even though I now own a physical copy of this, I think that both times I've consumed it has been as an audiobook, which is wonderful because they read it themselves. This is a memoir of their experiences growing up queer and black, and is targeted at a younger adult audience. Mostly because they went through some things during that time of their life, and it is important to talk about some of those things, so there are definitely trigger warnings to be had for this book. It should also be noted that there are also instances where they actually dead name a trans cousin of theirs, so although I can assume that they were just trying to do this from love, it's still not right to dead name people. So just know that going into it. This is thoroughly interesting and emotional, and there's a lot to be said about just letting people tell you their story, and I'm glad that I revisited this. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!